The Palau Congress is still divided on whether or not the United States military should have an increased presence in the country. Last month, the House of Delegates approved a joint resolution proposing Congress's support of the U.S. military base establishment, listing a number of flow-on benefits for locals, including improved infrastructure and telecommunications. However, the resolution is the complete opposite of one put forward by the Senate last year, expressing concern about the US being invited to deploy missile batteries on the island. Koroi Hawkins spoke with RNZ Pacific's Palau correspondent, Onerang Kambes Kesolai, about the differing views in Congress on the subject amid an election year.
Yeah, this is one of those ideas that to help Palau's economy recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, we can ask the United States to invest in infrastructure or telecommunications industry, as well as the presence of the U.S. military personnel itself would put some cash into the economy. But our National Congress is two houses. There's two houses, and they're at odds with each other. Last year, there was the Senate introduced a resolution expressing its concern about Palau inviting the United States to deploy its missile batteries on the island. And that's basically, they did not like any further U.S. expansion on the island. But now we have this House of Delegates who are just doing the opposite, and they come with this pro-U.S. military build-up on the island. And if you look at the Palau leadership, right now, the Palau President Surang also has expressed interest in the U.S. coming into the island and also build up its facilities, because he believes that when the United States comes in, they can help Palau build its road, the airport, expand the airport, expand the seaport. So those are the major infrastructure development that Palau cannot afford, but only with the help of the United States military, then they can move ahead with those projects. So that's kind of like the idea behind these resolutions and express support to bring in the U.S. military.
This isn't the first time this has happened, though, has it, in terms of interest in the U.S. military setting up a base in Palau?
Yeah. It's not the first time. In 2020, during President Tremangsaw, and at that time, then U.S. Secretary of Defense Mark Esper under President Trump visited Palau. It was a very historical moment because that was the first time that high U.S. government official visited Palau. But when he came, President Tremangsaw, then Palau President, took advantage of his visit and delivered a letter to him. It requested the U.S. military to come into the island and build dual-use facilities, meaning that the United States come in and invest on infrastructure improvement and upgrade on the seaport, airport. Those are considered dual-use facilities where the civilians and the U.S. military can both use them. So that was the first instance. And it was after that invitation from President Tremangsaw that we start seeing this increased military presence on the island. Large-scale military exercises. Also, we have two smaller islands, we call them states, to the south of the main island, and these were heavily bombarded or heavily a war took place in those areas. And now the U.S. military are in those areas, and they're doing airfield improvement. So in case of Peleliu Island, there are militaries there, and they are doing airport improvement in that village. So those are the kinds of actual development, infrastructure development that Palau leaders are seeing when the U.S. military comes in.
And just going back to the joint resolution from the House of Delegates, can you explain what that is, and does it pertain to actual action taking place, or is it just a thing for debate, or is there something that will come from this joint resolution?
So the joint resolution, it's joint because it will require the approval by the two houses of Congress. And at this point, the House of Delegates has approved it, and it has been transmitted to the Senate to act on it. So the resolution encourages the President of Palau, President Whips, to work with the United States government to establish a United States military base in Palau. Once the House of Delegates passed it, and then the Senate, for example, passed it again, then it officially expresses the wish for Palau National Congress to the President. And it also gives a President permission to go ahead and start a formal discussion with the United States to come and establish military base in Palau. Even though Palau has a compact of association with the United States, which is a defense and security treaty, but the President, this would help the President because if it comes from the National Congress, it would help with explaining it to the Palauan public that the President did not do this on his own. He did it with the people's representative who gave him this permission to go ahead and start the discussion.
Right. And what is the likelihood, do you think, given the previous sentiments from the Senate, that they also give their blessing for this?
I think won't get the Senate approval because earlier the Senate passed a Senate joint resolution, and that resolution was to express the National Congress position, against the deployment of missile batteries in Palau. That resolution did not pass the House of Delegates. It's still there, but they did not pass it. So in politics, this also will not fly because they did not entertain the Senate resolution. So the Senate has no reason to entertain this House of Delegates. So the House of Delegates has passed it. So I don't see any action from the Senate. It's going to be held in the committee, and it's not going to come up.
Right. So you think it's going to be a bit of tit for tat, and it's not going to make it through?
Yes. This resolution also comes at a time when during the election, we have this year, the people will elect their president and the members of the National Congress. So I'm looking at this as also it has that political experience, just to position themselves to try to get support from the public.